Hey guys, so today will be my why I'm stopping tea video. It is finally time for me to make this. So since I do have a lot of topics to cover in this video, I'm just gonna go right ahead and jump into it, okay? So I do have a couple points that I need to make. Alright, so one of the biggest reasons why I'm going off tea is because I didn't ever want to be on tea for more than a year. I mean, if you look at my videos from before, I don't know if I do mention it, but I do know that being on T for more than a year for me, of course, was an option, but, I didn't really ever want to be on T for more than a year, and of course, there's a lot of reasons to that. First of all, reason why I don't want to be on T for more than a year is that I like my hair. My hair falls out, not a lot, but, it falls out a lot more than it used to, and, I'm not getting, like, a receding hairline or anything like that. My hair is always like that here, but, like, it's kind of starting to fall off here, and, I like my thick hair, so like my hair. Another main reason, I really like my voice like this. It's not dominatingly manly or anything like that, and I can still do a high voice if I'm making like jokes, like stuff like that. And I also like my face the way it is. I've seen videos on YouTube of people who have been on T for more than, a year. They take like the, 1 year then 2 year picture, and their face changes a lot more within like the 1 year to 2 year mark. And, I don't want my face to change anymore. I really like it like this. I like my face. And I know that it's going to change when I get off T, but, not a dramatic amount. I do have a lot of bones here. Alright, so another really big point that I have is that I don't want to lose my visibility. One of the biggest reasons I didn't want to go on T, or I was very hesitant about going on T before, was because I didn't want to lose my, gay visibility and look straight to the straight world. I mean, that's fine if that's what you want, but, for me, that's not what I want at all. Like, I know that I still look like a guy and stuff like that, and if I hold my girlfriend's hand, we still look straight, but I feel that going off T, it just, my body's gonna change, my, like, pattern of fat redistribute, you know what I mean? It's gonna go back, and, for me, it's, I'm not gonna go more into the male side, it'll be more of a, um, middle part. So basically, I'm just, I go with the flow with this fluid sexuality stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, passing isn't as important to me as it was way before. Of course, before I wasn't on T, so passing was like, I need to pass. But of course, who was I kidding? I didn't look at all like a guy. But yeah, right now, if I was to pass 80% of the time, I'd be fine with it, which I do. Because at work, it's only at work though, on the phones. When I do my French voice, as I've talked about in my other videos, I sound like I'm a girl. So most of the calls at my call center are English, but I guess 20% are French, so there you go. Before I wasn't confident in telling people I was trans or anything like that, even at work, I wasn't comfortable at all. But now that I'm on T, I'm completely confident. If someone's like, but you have a girlfriend, but you look gay, like a gay guy, but you act so, like, gay male, I'm completely confident in telling the person, hey, I'm actually trans and I identify as a lesbian. But that does not mean to say that every single person in the trans community is a lesbian. I know that we fight a lot to not be called a lesbian, but I'm not talking about the entire trans community. This is my experience. This is who I am. I feel like I am embracing the labels that I am. Just because I'm a trans guy doesn't mean I can't be referred to as a lesbian. Since I don't completely identify as a trans guy. You see? But I do, so, Also, I know a lot of people have been telling me that I should just identify as genderqueer, but, it's not a label that I'm very comfortable with right now. I don't know why, maybe later on I'll feel comfortable with that label, but you know what? Right now, no. I don't feel comfortable, it's not for me. I like how we have to, like, oh, here's a label, you take it. Here's yours now. Point is, I'm not taking in that label. Anyways. Okay, so here's one of my biggest points. It's a bit complicated for me to explain, but I completely understand. Here it is. I feel like I feel more comfortable and embrace more of my female socialization than a lot of trans guys. This doesn't mean it's the entire trans community. Of course, this is me, again, my experience. I do feel like I, cue into more of my female socialization. Hello, I was socialized as a female for like 18 years of my life, and then I can't just switch like that to male. I do have a little chart here that me and my roommate drew up. So here's my chart. It's a little, okay, on this side over here is me before T, okay? So, and then at the end it's me now. So here is, I felt, manly, I have to be a man, I don't know how to act like a man, whatever, blah, blah. Oh, I'm on T right now. Oh, I need to act more and more and more like a guy, blah, blah, blah. Like I need to open my legs when I sit down and walk more, and be more dominating, hold the door, shit like that, which was ridiculous. Okay, and then I realized I don't really need to be manly. Let me just cue into my female side over here because it doesn't really matter. And of course, this is when I started passing more, so very big correlation over there. All right, and then it just went all the way down from there. The circle is when I realized that why am I being someone that I'm not? The circle is who I am, And of course, in my circle, I changed because, of course, you change all the time. So I changed to more of a, more down, which of course made everybody think that I was a gay guy. But of course, this is how I act, and I'm not gonna change or be, more manly on this little spectrum I have here. All right, so I have another chart for you guys here. It's a bit messy, but on the spectrum of male to female, I'm over here, not completely on the male side, but kind of in the middle of the middle, kind of, you know what I mean? And here is the trans spectrum, the personality spectrum, the male and the female. So it kind of like slides. Most people would be like, I'm a man. Oh, sorry, wrong side. Most people would be like, I'm a man, I'm gonna act like a man. But I'm a little more on this side, I would actually say I'm more like there. Let's just say that. Whatever. Anyways, so I'm here in my gender expression and stuff like that. And then if I go down here, it's like a diagonal. It's a good chart. You can't really see it though, but it makes sense in my head. And I just, me and my roommate discussed this on the bus to Toronto, and we made up like 4 charts, so it was good. I also think that it's very important to just point out there, because of my female socialization background and how I'm finally embracing it and not pretending like I'm being someone else. Not that I'm saying that every single trans person is pretending to be more manly than they are. No. Okay, I'm not saying that at all. Of course, I'm just saying for me, I'm embracing my female socialization background, and I feel that I can't connect with my male socialization at all. I tried, and that really didn't work out for me. Let me give you a little example. At work, this guy was sitting down. I don't remember. I don't think he works there anymore. But he was like, "Oh, I fucked this girl last night." Like I was like, "Oh, that's great." Like, okay. Like I'm not. I don't know what to say. Fuck that. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I'm finally embracing myself. I really should get a thesaurus for that word because I'm using it a lot, but whatever. I feel like I'm finally embracing who I am, and I'm happy. I'm extremely happy. Of course, I was happy when I was on T. It was my whole goal all along to be on T, for a year, maybe longer. And you know what? Maybe I'll go back on T in a couple years or something like that. Who knows? I'm not going to be like, okay, in 5 years exactly, I'm going to start T on. No. Like, you know what? I'm extremely happy with who I am right now. And, if I don't like who I am after T, then I'll start T again. I can always change it. There's no big deal. I feel like before T and during T, there was a big change. I was very self-conscious before. I'd always have to bind, pack, stuff like that at work. I felt like I was living 2 lives. People at work didn't know I was trans, and everyone here knew I was trans. And then I got a new job, and everyone knew I was trans there, and stuff like that, which, helped, and, they don't treat me differently. It's a cool place there and stuff like that. But I feel that now, leading up to my 1 year on T, and knowing that I was going to stop T, I'm binding with less tight binders. I really don't care anymore. I'm not packing at all. I pack during Pride, but that's, it's Pride, come on. And, I just feel like, it doesn't really matter. I look male-ish enough to, bind with a binder that's not bindy. Physically looking masculine, I'm able to act feminine without being perceived as a woman, which I like. Ah, the queer life. What would we do without it? Anyways, so that was my video. I hope that it shed some light on some people who were confused by why I was topping T, and I hope that it was a good enough explanation. Of course, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask, and for all you haters out there, I'm being brave and saying something that people don't say. I honestly feel it's not frowned upon to stop T or detransition, which I'm not doing, but, in a bit I am, kind of. But you know what? It's who I am, and, it's my body, and I'll do what I want. I don't know you, that's my purse.